Okay. Hello. I gotta swap my video over. All right. Sorry, I'm just getting my life back together. How are you guys today? Doing good?
Yeah, not bad. Trying to take the Robert Dick piece that I'm looking at and just pick what I can learn out of it because I think it's doubtful I'll be able to play the whole thing from beginning to end.
Ah, gotcha. Which one is that again? The
Look
short
out.
one?
Look out.
Oh, okay. His stuff is not easy, so sometimes yeah, you gotta pick and choose what you're gonna at least focus on to start with, maybe you can branch out over time, but yeah, sometimes it's nice to work on the pieces that you think are doable to begin with. All right, so today it looks like we're going to be a little bit light on participants today, but that's okay. I know that not having a session last week probably threw some people, and I have not been super active in the group this week because I've been out of town and just got back yesterday, so it's been a whole thing. But so last week, or 2 weeks ago, we voted that we were going to do an embouchure reboot today. Just a reminder for anybody who is watching the live stream of this in the group or on my Facebook page, that I can only do so much as far as answering questions in real time. So if you want to join the actual Zoom meeting, that's amazing. There, I did post a link earlier today. So today we're going to do an embouchure reboot, which I kind of loved. One of my former teachers, she suggested that in the group a few weeks ago, and I was like, I love the play on the flute reboot thing. So embouchure reboot. So we're going to talk all about the lips, the face, the cavity, all that good stuff. How to build those muscles. I do not actually have a slide set up for this because I feel like it's going to be a little bit more of a conversation. And again, it's been a weird week, so I didn't have as much time to put together an actual slide as I did an outline. So I do apologize for anybody that likes to see the slides. I'll have them back up next week. So first and foremost, we are going to talk about the shapes that we want to create. We are going to talk about the shape in the lips, the cavity of the face. We're also going to talk about tension points, and we're going to talk about muscle building because these are all very tiny little muscles in here that create our mouthpiece, right? So we don't have a traditional head. Our mouths, that is our mouthpiece. So that is, that's our reed. That's our, mouthpiece. So first and foremost, the shape of the lips. So I just want to say first and foremost that everybody's going to be a little different. So recently, I know, Mike, you're part of Flute Forum. Recently, there was a little bit of a trend happening where people were posting photos of famous flutists throughout history, male and female, that what their embouchure looked like. And you'll notice that everybody is a little different, right? So finding the right embouchure does take a little bit of experimentation on your part, on your teacher's part. So remember that experimenting is going to be key here. Now, some people play on the side here. If you have a particularly prominent, Cupid's bow, you might play to the side a little bit. Some people who have thicker lips do have to play a little bit more upwards on the lip as opposed to just below the lip. I personally find that my lip rests perfectly on the mouthpiece. That works really well for me. But again, some people find that they have to play this way due to that Cupid's bow. And then I have students that have to bring their mouthpiece all the way up here. So, everybody's going to be a little bit different, but we're going to talk about some tips and tricks to finding the right shape, finding the right thing. So, a couple of basics. We always want to play with the wet part of our lips, which means that the air should be touching the wet part of our lips. So almost as though we're rolling our lips out just a little bit. The wet part. That was something that I struggled with growing up. I always wanted to play on the drier part of my lips, right? As opposed to. So I made the joke with one of my students today that the quintessential millennial teenager thing we always picked on, and we still do pick on each other about taking selfies with the duck face. We always did that. That was a thing. It's terrible. I'm not proud of it. But kind of thinking about embodying the duck face, right? When we create the shape with our lips. Now, the other thing is the orbicularis oris. That's these groups of muscles here that surround your mouth. It's the orbicularis oris. We can do a lot of really fine movements. Obviously, you can tell just with talking, we create different shapes. We move this around a lot. This is a ton of muscles right here, and they're all very small. So small muscle group movements. As a matter of fact, I think I saw Vic Wheeler recently. He's part of the group, and he recently posted something about flutists being small muscle athletes. And I kind of loved that. I was like, you know what? That's fair, because we have gained control over all of these small muscles in such a profound way. We are very small muscle athletes. So, when we do embouchure changes and when we do register changes, we are making tiny little adjustments. A lot of people have this tendency to want to just do this big change, right? So we go from low to high. That's not what we're doing. We need small, tiny little changes when it comes to register changes, when it comes to embouchure updates, all that good stuff. So, in terms of the lips, staying relaxed, keeping the corners of the mouth relaxed. So we're not exactly going into a frown. We're not, right? But we're also not smiling, right? That's the biggest one that I see all the time. And I mean, that's how my band director taught me, was you want to smile. Smile and create your embouchure with a smile. We don't want that. We want relaxed, usually downturned, but not frowning, downturned corners of the lips. So playing with the wet part of our lips, corners heading down. So, one thing that I think I mentioned this in our last meeting, this space that we create in between the front of your teeth and the backs of your lips. It's almost like my former teacher likens it to this is our tube, right? We have our throat, we have our mouth. This is all part of a big straw, a big tube. And by bringing our lips out, we're actually lengthening that tube. We're making it longer. So, that's a great way to think of it. We want to bring it forward. Some people will actually go so far as to put a pencil in their mouths and play with a pencil, which forces you to bring your lips out. That's really hard. It's really hard. It's doable, but it's really hard. So, and I'll show you what I mean real fast. I'm going to use my Cause of Death Small Talk pencil. And so in order to play with a pencil in your mouth, you have to bring your lips out. Okay? Try it sometime. It's not fun, but it'll teach you something. So, with that, the shape of our lips should be very relaxed. The corners should be kind of turned down, not frowning, but also not smiling. Relaxed and down. We should be working to bring our lips out from our teeth and playing with the wet part of our lips. Okay? Now, again, as I said, we definitely want to remember, I don't even know why I have my flute fully put together because I'm just going to be working on my head joint today. We definitely want to remember that the actual position is going to vary from person to person. So for me, but for somebody else with thicker lips, may need to bring it up. I find that difficult because I don't have these thicker lips. And then other people may. I have to kind of twist my mouth around to do that, but it's doable. Like I said, experimenting, playing around with the angle, but over and all, you want to bring your flute forward and kind of away from your face a little bit in order to lengthen your tube here. Okay? So, then we have to remember things like vowel shapes. I talk about vowel shapes a lot. From low register, we talk about the O and Ah. And then we start getting into the A, E. Well, be careful with E because E can get very nasally. You can bring it up into your nose, E. Whereas we want to go E. It's almost like a little bit less E, a little bit more Ye, if that makes sense. The way that you open your throat, Ye, E, or E, ooey, ooey, the way that you open your throat. So we can use different vowel shapes all throughout our playing, right, in order to create better response and ultimately have better tone across our register. Let's see. I think I'm actually freezing up. Am I frozen? Okay. Good. I might swap cameras if it does. So, okay. Now, tension. There are lots of places that we hold tension in and around this orbicularis oris, and as it relates directly to our embouchure and this orbicularis oris. So, first of all, tension in the lips. That is a place that we hold tension and don't even realize it most of the time. So a lot of us have this tendency to believe that as we change registers, especially as we go high, that we want to tighten all of this up, right? We need to squeeze to get those notes out. That is not the case at all. We need to keep this all relaxed. Keep those corners down. We don't want to, as we go up, we want to manipulate our lips at the angle of our airstream. So we use our top lip in order to sculpt the airstream down or up, but we don't want to squeeze our lips. We don't want to squeeze the aperture, that's the opening in our lips, in our embouchure. We don't want to squeeze that closed because you'll be forcing air through and your tone will sound very thin and you can hurt yourself. If it feels uncomfortable or painful, you're probably not doing it correctly. So keep that in mind. If you're feeling pain here, If you're feeling discomfort here, you might need to take a step back and relax. Let go of that tension. Jaw. We as humans, not even just as flute players, we as humans hold tension in our jaw. We hold tension in our jaw for a plethora of reasons. There could be any number of reasons that you are holding tension in your jaw. This could be strictly related to the flute. It could be, I know that I grind my teeth when I sleep. It's 100% related, could be 100% related to that. Trauma, emotional stress, anxiety, any number of things can cause you to hold tension in your jaw. We want to let go, right? So one of the things that, and I repeat it, my last instructor was very focused on body and how the body as a whole relates to learning the flute and playing the flute well. And I also have gotten really into Alexander technique and body mapping and all that good stuff, and it's changed my life. So I say this stuff a lot. It is all connected, but my last teacher told me this awful story about how her instructor made her play with baby carrots in between her back teeth so that she wouldn't clamp down. Right? So you got to think about those baby carrots and keep your back teeth parted. I really never want to do that. I never want to play with baby carrots in between my teeth. And I'm going to argue that it's probably not great for your flute to do that. But it's a good visual, okay? It's a great visual for keeping your back teeth parted. And all of this just very open and relaxed and loose. Yes.
That's better than my teacher says. Imagine a golf ball in the back of your throat to get your throat open. So,
oh man,
yeah, I think in her case it was specifically just to imagine it, to not actually do it.
Sure,
but still, it's a gruesome image.
Right? That'd be terrifying. Oh my god. So yeah, no, let's not swallow golf balls. But I do get the image is good. I appreciate that one. Yeah, the opening of the back of the throat, because that's hard. It's hard to think. It's also hard to understand what a teacher is saying when they say that to you. When they're like, relax your throat. You're like, what does that even mean? My throat is relaxed, obviously. But we don't even realize where we're necessarily holding tension in flute playing, because some of us have been holding that tension just forever, right? I happen to be just a very tense human being. I am. I'm always holding. I'm always fiddling. I'm always, antsy. And so learning that stuff when I started getting into body mapping and started working with, the couple of years that I worked with her, and then started getting into body mapping and Alexander technique, I went, oh wow, I'm tense in general. But I didn't know what it felt like to not be tense. So for somebody to say, oh, you need to release the tension in your throat, I'm like, cool, that means nothing, So we hold a lot of tension in our jaw, baby carrots, and I was just getting to the throat, so that's perfect mental image there. Yeah, the golf ball in the back of your mouth, in your throat, right there, keeping it open, going ooh, that kind of sound. That is one of the ways that I release tension. It's almost like thinking of the way that an opera singer goes ooh, as opposed to ee. They go yeah. I can't sing. Don't hold that against me, please. But it's kind of the way that singers think about opening, because there's just so many parallels between flute playing and singing. And again, I'm not a singer. I'm a terrible singer, as a matter of fact. But thinking of yourself as a singer and kind of taking into account some of those things that singers do is kind of helpful. So, we open the throat, we go, you, and really try to, bring space into the throat, because we are very likely to hold tension in the throat and in the neck. The average human holds most of their tension in their neck and in their shoulders, right? without even realizing it. And that contributes directly to your embouchure, it contributes directly to your tone. So opening all of that up. I like doing body scans sometimes. Again, as I've learned that I'm a very tense human, I've tried to bring in mindfulness, meditation, all that good stuff in order to be less tense. So doing body scans, and going from one part to the next, and actively opening, letting go. So the throat should be open, the jaw should be loose, the lips should be relaxed. Then the position of the tongue. So during a standard just held note, your tongue should be relaxed and sitting in the space of your bottom teeth, right? In that lower jawbone area where your teeth are curved, just relaxed. Now, when we tongue, that's a little different, but it's also important not to hold tension in the tongue either. We want to, and this is a topic for another day, but allowing the tongue to be pushed out of the way by the air. In order to do that, you have to keep your tongue relaxed. So that also contributes directly to tone and embouchure as well. But during a standard held note, let's say we're practicing long tones, keeping your tongue relaxed in the bottom of your mouth. Here, I feel really weird showing my tongue on camera, so I'm going to not do that again. So, muscle building, ways that we can build these muscles here. Tone exercises, first and foremost. Tone exercises, long tones, even practicing different tone colors will help you learn to manipulate the airstream. You can also use things like the Pneumo Pro. Kathy Blocky posts on Instagram all the time about, she even just posted like a cheat sheet on exercises to use the Pneumo Pro. But using this to isolate different fans will force you to build muscles here in this top lip in particular, which will allow you to sculpt that airstream to go up and down in a very precise manner. When you first start playing flute, we're just kind of blowing air through, right? We're not particularly precise with the angle of the airstream. We're just trying to get a sound. This will help you get more precise and build those muscles. But yeah, tone exercises, the Pneumo Pro, flexibility exercises. So for instance, in Taffanel and Gobert, number 12, is a fantastic flexibility exercise that forces us to go from our, the bottom of our register all the way up to the top in basically arpeggios. And with that, it forces you to learn how to sculpt and direct that airstream quickly. So that will also help you build those muscles. And then, of course, harmonics. Harmonics are a great way to not only work on, intonation and tone, but also to, again, build the muscles, build the flexibility of isolating those harmonics. So, going from, rich to more isolated in each step. So, huge fan of harmonics. You can practice those in the Trevor Y book. There is also a book by Kathy Blocky. It's Planning to Play in Tune. Planning to Play the Flute in Tune. Sorry, I got that wrong. Planning to Play in Tune for the Flute by Kathy Blocky. She also does a fabulous job of doing harmonics exercises, which again will help you build those muscles. Sorry, I have 3 dogs. They're going crazy. The other thing that you can do as far as a total embouchure reboot, because remember that embouchure changes take time. They're not easy, and they make you feel like the worst flute player on the planet before they make you feel better. I did an embouchure change with my last teacher, and yeah, I went from what I felt like was beautiful tone to terrible tone, and then back to even better than before. So that's kind of the progression of an embouchure change. It's like you start out thinking like, yeah, awesome. And then it's, wow, I really suck. And then, oh my gosh, this is what I've been missing. So keep that in mind as you're making these tweaks, as you're changing from, your standard, what you've learned, what you've been doing forever, the smiley faced embouchure, right? So this would be like a standard smiley face. It's very tense. We're activating a lot of muscles, right? As opposed to and then we start playing with the wet part of our lips. So, it takes time. It takes time. But when you're able to sculpt your air better, when you're able to create these cavity shapes, all of these things combined, you will be more resonant, you will have clearer and cleaner tone, and you're just going to sound better. And you're going to feel better because as you start to get up into those higher notes, again, this starts to hurt. When you're playing wrong, when you are playing with a lot of tension, when you are not actually using your airstream angle, but rather just trying to use the force of the air, it hurts. It doesn't feel good, right? So, or, sorry, I just had a neighbor walk past my my window and just kind of look in like they weren't sure what I was doing. But yeah, so lots of amazing stuff that you can do. A lot of it is going to take experimentation with the very basics of bringing forward, lengthening the tube, keeping this cavity open and relaxed, keeping your tongue out of the way, relaxed, and then again utilizing those vowel shapes and experimenting. So I know that this is not as long as I normally go. I want to do another of these where I dive a little bit deeper into maybe like the vowel shapes, where I really do another a like deep dive into that. So I would like to do some just head joint exercises. Okay. So we're going to cover the end. And this is going to feel very, very juvenile. I know. This is going to feel like these are things that we do with brand new flutists. But it is. Right? So we're just going to go low, 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 high, high, high. See how even I'm starting to tighten here? I'm not doing very good about my tension today. But also remember that sometimes when we get tired, we revert. That is something that I know about myself. I have this really bad tendency when I am tired to revert back to bad habits. I think I have a question here. I find whistle tones to be very helpful. Yes, whistle tones are fantastic. Um, Whistle tones are different. Um, so they require slower, warmer air and less focused air. Oh, sorry. I don't know if you're actually going to hear them over Zoom, but they require slower, warmer, less and less focused air, like a lot slower. And they can definitely be very helpful. I like the idea of whistle tones as far as releasing tension, because you have to be so unbelievably relaxed. Your whole embouchure has to be so unbelievably relaxed and open in order for you to achieve whistle tones, or at least achieve them well. So I am also a big fan of whistle tones. I think that that's very helpful too. And Robert Dick has a fantastic, he has a fantastic book on extended techniques where he talks a lot about that. There is also a, hang on one second, Dr. Mary Matthews, Beatboxing and Beyond, where she talks about whistle tones as well. And she actually has I like her exercise on whistle tones a little bit better than some of the Robert Dick stuff. It's a little bit, I would argue that it's a little bit more, not beginner friendly, but just friendlier written in general. She has pictures and stuff that I really like. On that note, there are lots of extended techniques that are extremely helpful. Multiphonics can be super helpful too, as far as learning to be a little bit, to be more precise, because multiphonics require such precise air direction, and it requires you to experiment and find the spot, right? Because if you're not right on it, you're not going to get that multiphonic to speak. So that's another one. She also has a whole section in here, multiphonics. So I'm definitely a big fan of some of these extended techniques. Now, the caveat here is that I don't necessarily, I recommend these for a little bit more advanced flutists. I don't necessarily recommend trying to get into these if you are, just a couple years into flute playing, or, are more like on the beginner or intermediate side, because I think that'll probably end up doing a little bit more harm than good. But for my advanced fluties out there, Beatboxing and Beyond, this is a fantastic book that goes through all kinds of extended techniques that will help with tone. Yes, singing and playing at the same time. That's another one that she talks about in here. And that is super helpful for throat tension as well. All right. So, just a second. I just want to make sure that, real fast, I do want to make sure that I'm seeing all the comments, so I'm just double checking, because I'm using a separate, all right. Amazing. Okay. On that note, I think we should do some warm-up. So, we're going to do a little bit of tension releasing. So we're going to go arms out, like a T. We're going to pinch an imaginary pencil between our shoulder blades. We're going to make sure that our shoulders are dropped. And we're just going to feel the stretch in our shoulder blades. I like to do kind of the airplane thing because it's nice on the back. All right, we'll let that go. We'll do a couple of shoulder circles. Perfect. Reverse the direction. All right, now we are going to treat our mouths like a balloon. We're going to awesome. All right, now we're going to do the opposite. We're going to squint our faces up, and then we're going to let go. So, all right. Let's grab our flutes. We're going to do a very slow chromatic scale. I'm going to start on C. If you can't start on C, that's totally okay. Now remember, as you're going up, if you feel tension in your fingers, try to release it. Just going up to that C above the staff. And we're going to come back down. And make sure when you pause, wherever it is that you choose to pause, I'm kind of pausing randomly. You take a big deep breath in and then continue. So, as we go through, we're making sure to think about what's going on in our embouchure, bringing further out from our flute, or rather kind of almost like pushing our flute away. It's the way that I like to picture that, almost pushing our flute away with our lips. Alright, so we're going to do some arpeggios. So we're going to build. So we're going to start C, E, G, E, C, and then we're going to add one note each time. Shake out the hands. I'm going to grab a drink of water real quick. All right, now we are going to do finger touches. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Back and forth. Whatever pace you like. Remember to keep your fingers curved the way that you would when you're playing a flute or if you're playing a piano. Any of you pianists out there can attest to the fact that they do the same thing, curving the fingers. And I'm going a little too fast for my own brain today. Some people even like to do like one forward, one back. I like to do that sometimes, but I'll be honest, I am not in the right headspace for that today. And part of being alive and maturing and being an adult is knowing when to recognize the fact that you're not in the right headspace for something. All right. Shake out the hands. All right. Last thing. Yes, guitarists do this for warm up. So last thing, I'm going to say start on the C above the staff, and we're just going to cascade down all chromatically all the way down to your C. So go at your pace, but I want you to think of a waterfall. Bam. Bam. So you can start, hold that C for just a second. And think like you're coming up to the waterfall. Bam. One more time. All right. Okay, so I'm going to mute. We're going to practice whatever it is that you're working on currently, and if you have questions, either unmute or jump into the chat. I'm watching both chats, the chat from the live stream as well as the meeting, but I'm going to go ahead and mute. So consider this like office hours for those of you that have never watched these before. All right. Okay, friends, have we run into any questions? Oh, I see we have a newcomer. Hi. Sorry, we were in the practice part of this. But yeah, so we usually cut it off right at 8, so I wanted to check in, see if anybody had any questions, was struggling with the embouchure reboot topics that we talked about. Are we feeling pretty good? Awesome. Okay. Well, I'm going to have this go for about another 5, and then I have a lesson to teach at 8. So I'm going to cut it off at about 7:59. So feel free to jump in, unmute, ask questions, or type them into the chat. I'll be keeping an eye on that. All right. Well, uh, it was a pleasure. Like I said, definitely come to the next one. I will put up the vote in the group for what we're going to talk about. Like I said, I know it got weird because last week we didn't have one, so I think there was some confusion, and I have not been super active in the group this week. So, but I'm gonna put up the vote, and we will be here next week. Good to
See
see
you
ya.
next week. Bye bye.
Bye.